volunteer fire companies, the fire companies. And these guys, you know, there's that old saying, you know, God made man, then he made a few firefighters, you know. Who the hell else runs into flames? But all kidding aside, think of all the things they've done, and the National Guard stepping up, everything they've been asked to do. And you know, flying home to home, county to county, pushing through the chaos and exhaustion, trying to save every single life you can is kind of who you are. I've gotten to see you. I got to see you pretty up close and personal. And when I got elected, I promised to be, and it's not hyperbole, the president of all Americans. There really is no, you know, red and blue when it comes to these states. People are people, and they need help. And it's, like I said, it's unfortunate. It's my second visit to Kentucky for a crisis, And you know, what I said holds true today. It's going to take a while to get through this, but I promise you we're not leaving. Federal government, all its resources, we're not leaving. As long as it takes, we're going to be here. And we are committed, you know, and, you know, this absolute 100% coverage of costs for the next, you know, 3 months, it matters. What people don't realize, all those piles of debris and everything else, it takes us a lot of time, a lot of money to get that out of the way. And so that's why we did the expedited major disaster declaration. Provides temporary housing, home repairs, property loss for homeowners. We've already gotten out $10 million out the door, a lot more to go, directly to flooding survivors to support the recovery. And on Saturday, I committed the federal government, as I said, to 100% of the emergency work for 30 days will be necessary for communities in eastern Kentucky to recover and begin to rebuild. And so we're on the ground immediately after the flooding and working closely with the governor's office, search and rescue teams, distributing food and water and other necessities, getting power restored, water to communities, get phones, internet service back up, register survivors for disaster assistance, including $500 direct payment for immediate cost of everything from food, water, and prescriptions. And FEMA's mobile disaster recovery centers are impacting communities. Some are going door to door to see who needs help. You know, one of the things I think that we all forget, in moments of crisis, not everybody is prepared to know how to respond, to know where to go, to know what to do. Not everybody is in the same circumstance. And so if you're a survivor and you have any cell service, go to 1-800-621-3362. 1-800-621-3363. 1-800-621-3362 directly. And you can find out where you have to go to get what you need. Additionally, the U.S. Corps of Engineers has deployed experts to remediate hazardous materials from wastewater systems and restore critical roads and bridges. I don't know whether you have a calculation yet of how many roads and bridges you're going to need to be rebuilt and replaced, but we're going to get it done. Joining us today is Rachel Chambers from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, who's working to make sure we get rural communities can easily access a range of federal assistance as well. I also want to thank Gail McGovern, President of the American Red Cross. Red Cross is always there, always there. No, it really is. I remember as a kid learning about the Red Cross from an uncle who was in World War II. Red Cross is always there was the phrase. Well, in every disaster I've seen since I've been president, you're always there. The bottom line is the people of Kentucky have made it clear to your governor and members of Congress, Hal Rogers, Mitch McConnell, and others, that anything they want, these guys are going to fight like hell to get it for you. And I promise you, if it's legal, we'll do it. We'll do it. If it's not legal, we'll figure out how to change the law. No, but all kidding aside, There's a lot we have to do. People need some navigators. People who are devastated already, lost a home, trying to figure out who do I call, what do I do, how do I do it. They need people to help them navigate through this. We're going to do that too. So, Gov, thank you for everything you're doing. And like I said, you're stuck with us. We're here till it's over.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next, we'll hear from a congressman who served this region, not for about as long as I've been alive, but is not only the Dean of Congress, but he is always fighting for Eastern Kentucky. Regardless of the administration, he is steadfast in supporting Kentuckians and Kentucky families. For that, I'm grateful. Our working relationship has been wonderful, whether it is attracting new jobs or, in this instance, being there for our people. Congressman Rogers.
Thank you, Governor. Those were nice words. President, we are so...
You want this mic, boss?
Mr. President, we are thrilled that you're here. I'll tell this, I think it's the truth. If not, we'll make it so. This storm occurred at 3 a.m., I think it was a Sunday. And I got the Kentucky delegation together, federal delegation, and we signed a letter to you requesting emergency declaration. And before that day was out, the declaration was signed, which I think is a record time, the same day as the storm. And you've been on the spot all the way through. And of course, the governor has been terrific in his leadership, pulling the state's assets together with federal help. Thank goodness for FEMA and others. But the volunteers have been great. And the spirit of the people of East Kentucky shines through. I'm reminded of the scripture that says, we are pressed but not crushed, persecuted, not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. So the people of this region are doing yeoman's work in cleaning up, reorganizing their lives, all the while being helped by angels like in this room who are helping them get back to life. And Mr. President, you are our #1 booster, and we thank you for being here.
Thank you. By the way, Dean, I didn't tell you, I got a little prejudiced view of Kentucky. Best thing ever happened to my family is a girl from Owensboro decided to marry my brother Jim. And she bleeds blue. She went to University of Kentucky. That's the only part I get a little tired of sometimes. To hear about. But anyway.
I think next we're going to hear from somebody I've become on a first name basis with. That's FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell. I will tell you, the two people at this table gave me their personal cell phones some months ago. And in the first three and a half hours, I called both Gail McGovern and Administrator Criswell. And Administrator Criswell had been on a plane. She was landing in Tennessee. Immediately called back upon landing. And because of where she was and who she was talking to, the Tennessee National Guard came to our aid, bringing their helicopters with hoist capabilities. Within a matter of hours, making hundreds of saves. Just her being there and picking up the phone meant that there are Kentuckians with us today that would otherwise not be. Administrator.
Does this mic work? Sounds like it does. You know, I'd like to start by first sharing my gratitude, Mr. President, to you and the First Lady for being here today and standing strong with the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It really means a lot to everybody here and my team that's here supporting. And on behalf of FEMA, Governor, for you and the First Lady of Kentucky, your emergency management office and all of the local emergency management officials. I just want to express my thank you to you for your outstanding leadership that you have shown over the last several really hard days. And I think you've heard this already, but I always like to recognize all of those amazing first responders that are out there supporting Kentuckians, many of them who have had personal loss and personal tragedy throughout this, and the fact that they continue to put their lives ahead of what their needs are to make sure that they're helping those that are in the greatest need. And finally, just to let you know that the nation stands behind you right now and is here to support Kentucky with what their needs are. It's been a really challenging situation to watch unfold. It's been heartbreaking and hard to really put in words the stories that we continue to hear. And I just want to say that we commit to being here with you on your road to recovery, and as Mr. President has said, for as long as you need us here. I would even add to that, we were still here for the tornadoes that happened just before Christmas of last year. And because we had a presence here, our team was able to mobilize very quickly to begin providing some coordination efforts and bringing in resources that could help with the flooding that was going on. So I'll give you just a quick update of what we're doing here on the ground. So far, we have deployed over 700 FEMA personnel to assist with the response and the recovery efforts that are ongoing. Our urban search and rescue teams, they will remain in the area on standby until you tell me that you don't want them here anymore. We'll be here to support you. To support critical needs, we've delivered more than 134,000 meals to date and 917,000 liters of water to the impacted communities. We will bring in more if you need more. And then finally, FEMA has been able to provide over 800 Kentuckians so far across the 12 designated counties with over $13 million in disaster assistance under the major disaster declaration. We do expect this number to increase, and as I spoke with the governor earlier today, we are calling back anybody that has been denied assistance to make sure we can talk to you about what your needs are and make sure we have a better understanding. I think, as you said, Mr. President, sometimes you don't know what to ask for, and so maybe we don't get the form filled out right, and so we'll continue to do that. We're also going to make sure that we work with the governor's team to help get to those isolated communities, and how do we get our teams that are in the field. We have what we call disaster survivor assistance teams that are walking around going door to door with iPads, but we know that there's communities that are isolated, and so we want to make sure that we can figure out how we can get to them and get them registered if they need assistance. We also have fixed and mobile registration centers, and so we're going to bring in different types of resources because we understand that everybody's situation is unique to them. We're also supporting non-congregate sheltering efforts. This is what you heard the governor talk about with the RVs that we had in place from the tornadoes. This is a program that we really matured during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have found how valuable it is during the early days of a disaster response like this. We also have housing inspectors that are in the field doing damage assessments and working with them, and then we'll continue to do preliminary damage assessments to see if we need to add on additional aid. And so in closing, I'd just say, Governor, Mr. President, Kentucky, unfortunately, no stranger to tragedy. But you have a resilient people here. And what warms my heart is just to see how neighbors continue to help neighbors each and every day. And we will continue to be here with you throughout your recovery. Thank you.
May I say something?
You're the president.
I still have to ask permission. Kidding aside. You know, one of the things, and I think that maybe the congressman may agree with me, that is positive has changed, is for a while, the years that I've been in the Senate for a long time, since the 70s, we find that when there was a disaster that hit in one section of the country, there wasn't an overwhelming desire to vote to help that section of the country if you weren't from that section of the country. For example, we find that we always have farming disasters in the Midwest. And everybody in the East would saddle up and pay for it. We have a major flood, hurricane along the East Coast. My state is 3 feet above sea level. People say, what the hell, why do I have a responsibility to do that? Not a joke. remember Sandy and other storms, that there was a reluctance on the part of the rest of the members of the House and Senate to vote for it. What the bad news, I was saying to the Gov, that my mother had an expression, everything bad, something good will come if you look hard enough for it. I think what's happening here is we're beginning to realize this is one country. It's a federal system, but it's one country. And the fact that you're in Tennessee and the National Guard comes with lift helicopters across the way to help out. And West Virginia the same way. It's happening all across the country, happening out west too. The number of firefighters, I mean thousands of firefighters, many of whom have lost their lives fighting fires in other states. And so I just think it's, I think there's one good thing that's come from this is we've realized that, you know, this is an American problem, not just a problem for an individual state.
Thank you, Administrator, and thank you to the federal government's commitment. Back in the housing challenge that's going to be posed by this natural disaster is going to be one unlike any we have seen before. But I will say FEMA thus far is doing things it has never done before. I think the President just committed we continue to do things.
Well, we got to try. $35,000 not going to be enough for people who didn't have any insurance at all and had a modest home to begin with.
We'll turn it over now to Colonel Jeremy Slinker. He is the head of emergency management in Kentucky. And I got to say, he and his team have been doing an incredible job, also getting things done that we've never seen before. Now having, I think, every healthcare operator up and running, having to deliver water to so many of them. Colonel Slinker, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate that, Mr. President. Thanks for the opportunity. You know, my comments will be very similar to what everyone has already else said, but just substantiates how true they are. I mean, it's been truly teamwork. And you just made the comment that I was going to mention, we have Team Kentucky, but I can't tell you how many other states have reached out to me offering assistance. And we have other states in our EOC and also in the impacted areas supporting our local emergency management office there as well. So it truly is Team United States. And I can't express enough the appreciation for all the support that's coming. You know, what we owe, the search and rescue efforts have been described of how monumental they were. So now what's up to myself and my colleagues in FEMA, and Ms. Gracia Sheck, the administrator, is that we give those same efforts in the recovery because it's equally as important. We did the emergency work. Now it's going to take that just as much efforts to help people and save their lives in the recovery operation as well. And you have that commitment from Kentucky Emergency Management, and I speak, I think, for our local emergency management directors like Director Friley that's here at the table. As well, some of the challenges we're running into, a lot of these residences are cut off because they have residential bridges. And once that bridge is gone, it may be challenged to get out, but we're throwing every resource we have at it. FEMA is supporting us on those, and we just completed an objective of doing wellness checks on all those people that are across those bridges, and we're identifying what their needs are. And then we're being as simple as if they need a bottle of water, they also need every other service that's out there to offer needs to be delivered across that creek to them as well. And we're going to work together. And I've had that commitment as well from my colleagues at FEMA to get that done. And as mentioned, the sheltering mission, people need places to stay, and we're scouring the area to locate all areas that can house our survivors, as well as at all of these disaster recovery centers, as they talk to a federal resource. If they look to the right or left, they're going to find a state resource or a local resource. Whatever it is, it's a one-stop shop that we're setting up so they don't have to drive multiple places or try to find them or locate them. And then you mentioned as well, your experience in these are well noted. Debris cleanup is coming, and they're having meetings as we speak about the waterway debris cleanup, which is going to be very challenging, and we'll be rolling that out and getting it started very soon. But ultimately, I'll close with, you know, I take it personal. I have a lot of friends and colleagues in this area. All the emergency management directors that we speak with regularly, we've stood up a daily call with the county officials, that the ones to my left and across the table from here on there, every day where we give out information, but not only do we listen to you, and we want them to give us every need they have, and we'll respond in every way we can. So that's our commitment. There'll be no rock left unturned, and if there's a resource out there, we'll ask for it, and we appreciate so far all the answers have been yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll pause a moment as the press departs, but if I can, to you, thank you for telling our story. It's important that the world sees what's happened here, the tough times people are going through. Thank you for telling our story.
like a short XLR. Basically, they just need a short XLR to borrow.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a test. Do you all hear me out there? Test 1, 2. This is a test. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a test. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And here's the wireless mic. Wireless mic. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Test 1, 2.
How's that light look? Good. Good. We got it. It's all good. He's getting his focus. Test, test, test. Good?
Make sure it's not on. I want to say on. Oh.
announcement to the governor, to POTUS, and then the First Lady may do something or something like that. So that's yeah.
And then I think I'd like no service.
Yeah.
Like the order of standing, I think was going to be like POTUS, FLOTUS, governor. But basically like pretty soon walk up. So that's not like it's like everybody else set before we got together.
No, I think they're all together.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Let's do that. I'm just gonna put some more.
Oh, where? I guess it looks rude to just have one disagreement. Or maybe one. Glasses look weird.
Yeah.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a test of the lectern. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a test. Do y'all get that? Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I need to be done with the mic check. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a test. Test complete.
Oh, you're right behind me. I was like, where is he?
Be nice in the shade. Let's see, is Mr. Rogers going to start us off?
I'm gonna grab this phone over here.
Hot. Whoa.
Ooh-wee. There's one more.
I give it to her.
Are you sure you don't need it?
No, I want to drink. I want to drink at a time when you do it.
Yeah, come on. Phew. Sorry we didn't have any.
If you will gather round, we'll have a short program.
Your hands hot? Want me to pour some water on your hands?
Hey, right over here.
I feel better.
You got it. That's okay.
He's all right.
Now, Jackson, you're speaking first, right?
On that fateful morning at 3 a.m., many of you were awakened by a horrible noise, number one. But before that day was out, we had asked the President for emergency disaster declaration, and that very day he signed the papers, bringing in all sorts of federal help, including FEMA and others. But what a spirit we found in the hills of Kentucky. We love each other, we love our country, we love our state and our county and our community, and we'll go to lengths to preserve those values that we treasure in these hills. And then the governor took up the cause and has guided it marvelously through these days and weeks. There's plenty of work yet left to do, both on the federal and state level. But we're also very excited that in the crowd with us today, helping survey the situation, is our own president, who is seeing to the needs of this region and doing what he can to help ease the pain. So, let me say a word of welcome with you to our governor, who has been on the spot over these past few weeks and days. Welcome, your governor, Andy Beshear.
Thank you to Congressman Rogers, who has been a fierce advocate for Eastern Kentucky for so many years. Thank you all for being here. Less than 2 weeks ago, this region suffered the most devastating, destructive flooding to hit our Commonwealth in my lifetime. At least 37, now I believe 38 lives were lost, including 4 young children. Communities have been destroyed, if not completely wiped off the map. Once again, our people are hurting, facing loss and hardship on a scale that's hard to process. Eastern Kentucky is a place where flooding is a part of life, but no one has ever seen anything like the historic flooding that hit us on the night of July 26th. Hours of rainfall hammered these mountains, sending walls of debris, clogged water crashing through homes and businesses, sweeping them clear off their foundations, crashing them into bridges, and for some, their home's just gone. We don't even know where it is. Maybe not one scrap that we can locate. Seeing the devastation firsthand is heartbreaking. It's traumatic just to witness, much less for these families and these children to live through. I talked to a grandmother who was pulled out of the window of her car as it was swept away, just seconds between life and death. Brittany and I sat with a young family as they showed us pictures of the homes that they had worked a decade to build, one that they were so proud of that is a total loss. And as I stood at the site where we lost those 4 children, nothing remains of that house but a little plastic swing is still sitting in the back where they would push 1 or 2 of those children, the oldest of which was in 2nd grade. The tragedy just comes all that much more home. And it comes just a little over a half a year before the deadliest tornado outbreak in our history took the lives of 81 of our fellow Kentuckians. And it comes amidst a one-in-a-century global pandemic that's taken more than 16,300 Kentuckians from us. All these people are children of God, taken far too soon. They meant so much to their families, to their communities, and these losses are going to be felt deeply for generations. While the body is mortal, the soul is eternal, and to those lost, we will see you again. The trials and tribulations we Kentuckians have faced are hard to understand. But one thing we've proven over and over is that Kentuckians do not break. We may get knocked down, but we don't get knocked out. Just look at the families right here and the families over there, hugging on the ones they love. Extended family coming down to support them. Everybody finding a place to stay because that's who we are. Kentuckians are good people. We open our hearts and our homes to one another. And while this continues to happen to us, maybe it's because we can take it, because of how we lean on one another in times of need. No red or blue, no D or R, just Kentuckians looking out for Kentuckians. My visits here last week reminded me of the wise words of the late Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. When tragedy strikes, he said, look for the helpers. You can always find the people that are helping. Everywhere I look, helpers are stepping up. That is who we are. It's what we do when the stakes are life and death. Here in Kentucky during tough times, we open our hearts and our homes to one another. Jeremy Creason is the fire chief in Mayfield. I remember talking to him as the tornado was going through, and I remember meeting him at first light outside a candle factory where we prayed for a miracle, thinking we'd lost 100. Thankfully, we'd only lost 13. It was just the other day I was talking to Mayfield Mayor Kathy Onan. She was telling me Jeremy Creason had loaded up his ambulance and was driving right here to Eastern Kentucky despite, if you looked around his community, so much work still to be done. She told me that Jeremy asked to pass a message on. He said the people of Eastern Kentucky and the world was there when Western Kentucky needed it. And you could bet that Western Kentucky was coming to Eastern Kentucky in their time of need. We've also once again seen the professionalism and outright heroism of the Kentucky National Guard, Kentucky State Police, Fish and Wildlife personnel, Kentucky Emergency Management, and local first responders who showed up, just not from here, but from all over. The Lexington Fire Department, trying to get to Hazard, couldn't get through it, so they did over 60 rescues when they first hit water right here in Breathitt County. Mr. President, our Kentucky National Guard is the greatest guard in the country. Its members remind us that they are us. They are Kentuckians who are our neighbors, who in incredible times get called to service, and they never let us down. But for every rescue of our first responders, there were 2 by community members, neighbors that may have had a kayak. There was a young man in Letcher County with a jet ski that, I'm not kidding you, rescued more than 10 people. Thankfully, having that in his garage, risking their lives to help one another. Stories of neighbors rushing from their own flooded homes to their neighbors. And let me tell you, I remember watching a cleanup, talking to somebody, pulling stuff out, saying, "Is this your house?" She said, "No, mine's 2 down, but we're going to finish this one before we get to mine." And we've seen so many outstanding young Kentuckians stepping up. It looks like one may have even given his life in the service of others. We have seen a remarkable response because we Kentuckians are remarkable people. And just as we promised our families in Western Kentucky, we are here for you, and we are not going anywhere. We'll be here for you in the days, in the weeks, in the months ahead. We are here until every life and every structure is rebuilt. You are not alone, and we are not alone. We have seen an outpouring of unconditional love from across the country. Millions of dollars and so many donations have come in. We need to ask, please, turn to monetary donations. We have received so much water, so many clothes, and the rest. We're having to find warehouses counties away just to put them in it. And as a state, we are not alone. I'd like to thank the entire team at FEMA, including Deanne Criswell, FEMA Administrator, and Region 4 Administrator Gracia Sheck, who have been here working with us. The administrator called me the moment a plane touched down that she was in, after I'd called her in the first hours of the flood. I want to thank the American Red Cross. One of the first calls I took, she was there on the other end of the line. I want to thank Emergency Management and Colonel Jeremy Slinker, as well as every local official that hasn't slept in more than 9 days. And I want to thank the Tennessee and West Virginia National Guard. There are Kentuckians that wouldn't be here today, but for our neighbors giving their great resources. I want to thank our federal delegation, Senator McConnell and Paul, our entire House leadership, Rogers, Yarmouth, Barr, Guthrie, Massey, and Comer. Everybody was there when Eastern Kentucky needed us. And I am deeply grateful for President Biden. And it is an honor to welcome him and First Lady Jill Biden here to Eastern Kentucky. President Biden and his administration have acted with greater speed for that federal disaster declaration, as well as for individual assistance to our families, than I have ever seen. We recently got 100% coverage for a 30-day period that's going to help our local communities and get this area dug out faster. And now 12 impacted counties are eligible for individual assistance through FEMA. Every time we have a request, the answer has been a quick yes. And then how else can we help? On behalf of the Commonwealth, Brittany and I are grateful for that partnership and the attention and love that you have shown for our people. But I have one more important ask for what else can we do? In Western Kentucky and across the country, and we've had this discussion, too many people are being denied by FEMA for technicalities, and too little is paid to those that get through the system. The people of Eastern Kentucky have lost everything. Most just have the clothes left on their back. No insurance, no other coverage. Now is the time to fix this issue, and because of this president, FEMA is doing things to help our people right here, right now, that we have never seen done before, and we know under his leadership it'll continue. I want to thank everybody in FEMA for adapting with us as our people desperately need it. In these times, even more than most, we Kentuckians lean on our faith. I believe we see God in the response, and that's a good thing because we have so much more to do for the people here. In the book of Joshua, God says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord God is with you wherever you go." In the book of Jeremiah, we're told, "For I know plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to give you peace, not disasters, plans to give you a hope and a future." To the people of Eastern Kentucky, we love you. We're going to be here with you. And this President and First Lady are here today to show that you matter to them. Now I'd like to introduce you to a President who has been there in times of disaster each time we've called and is making things happen that we have never seen before, President Joe Biden.
Well, thank you very much. Folks, I was going to give more formal remarks, but can y'all hear me? Is this on? You know, I got to meet several families. Got to meet the family back here on this side of the road to see what's happened to their properties, their trailer, everything they had, and how they come together. No complaining, just getting up and going to get it done. And I walked across the road, another family. One family, gentleman, his trailer is all the way up at the other end of the property, gone. And you know what? When I started talking about what we could do, he said, well, you know, we Kentuckians don't want to ask for too much. Catch this. We don't want to ask for too much. We're used to having neighbors help us out. We don't know that the rest of y'all, everybody else should be doing this. I said, you're kidding me. Not seriously, what are you talking about? And to point it out that, here's the deal. It is true that the people here in this community in Western Kentucky and the folks I met in the tornado, they're not just Kentuckians, they're Americans. They're Americans. This happened in America. American problem. And we're all Americans. Everybody has an obligation to help. We have the capacity to do this. It's not like it's beyond our control. The weather may be beyond our control for now, but it's not beyond our control. And I promise you, we're staying, the federal government along with the state and county and the city, we're staying until everybody's back to where they were. Not a joke. And one other thing I raised with the Gov, we've never done this before, but because of a number of things we got done on a bipartisan basis, like $1.2 billion infrastructure project, like what we're doing today, what we passed yesterday, helping taking care of everything from health care to God knows what else. What we're going to do is we're going to see, for example, if they got to put a new water line in the community, there's no reason why they can't at the same time be digging a line that puts in a whole new modern line for internet connections. Why? Why can't we do that? So it's going to be different. We're going to come back better than before. And I really mean it. That's the objective I have. Not come back to what we were before, come back to better than we were before. And I mean this, Gov, and you know I mean it. And I'm confident with your leadership we can do it. Along with the we call them county executives where I'm from, but from the judge here. I'm finding this is something that we can all do. We can get this done. Because we're the only country in the world that has come out of every major disaster stronger than we went into it. We got clobbered going in, but we came out stronger. That's the objective here. It's not just to get back to where we were, it's to get back to better than where we were. And we have the wherewithal to do it now with the legislation that's been bipartisanly passed. So I don't want any Kentuckian telling me you don't have to do this for me. Oh yeah, we do. You're an American citizen. We never give up. We never stop. We never bow. We never bend. We just go forward. And that's what we're going to do here. And you're going to see. And I promise you, the bad news for you is I'm coming back because I want to see it. Thank you very much. Am I supposed to introduce you, Judge?
I think you're it.
That's it.
You're a man.
All right, now we're all going to run laps around. But all kidding aside, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. These people deserve an enormous amount of credit for their courage and their stamina. Thanks.